It's 1966, and William Hartnell has decided to leave Doctor Who, a show which he had become the face of. The heads of the show have decided to make a controversial decision, continuing Doctor Who, but with a new lead actor. That lead actor would be Patrick Troughton, and he would become the new face of the show. So, in order to let William Hartnell leave the role, they decided to recast the part. Instead of casting someone similar to Hartnell, they went with someone a bit different. They chose Patrick Troughton at the approval of William Hartnell. As the story goes, it was the idea of Sidney Newman to give Troughton the cosmic hobo look, a drastic departure from William Hartnell's way of playing the character. I feel like for Doctor Who's first 3 years, the show was trying to find its feet, trying all different types of stories, some working more than others. However, when it comes to Patrick Troughton's time on the show, I feel like the series had finally found its feet. The show, during this time, would start to set certain features of the show in stone, things like Base Under Siege stories. A Base Under Siege story is a narrative where a small group of characters are trapped within a confined location, like a military base or spaceship, while being relentlessly attacked by external forces, forcing them to fight for survival and find a way to escape or overcome the threat, usually with dwindling resources and increasing tension as the siege progresses. This type of Doctor Who story can be seen even in new series stories like Under the Lake and Before the Flood. I feel like Patrick Troughton might be one of the most influential actors to play the Doctor, much more influential than his predecessor would ever be. His characteristics of using his silly foolishness to disguise his real motivations is a character feature that can still be seen today in the character. Troughton would be an almost polar opposite to his predecessor, and it would influence so many Doctor Who actors beyond him, most noticeably being Sylvester McCoy and Matt Smith. Now, I'm going to tell you my favourite and least favourite story from the Troughton era. This was a more difficult decision than last video's choice because I prefer so many more Troughton stories. But anyway, let's get into it. Favourite: The Enemy of the World. On Earth in 2018, the Doctor and his companions are forced into a deadly web of intrigue thanks to his uncanny resemblance to the dictator Salamander. He is hailed as the shopkeeper of the world. For his efforts to relieve global famine, the Doctor must expose Salamander's schemes before he takes over the world. This being my favourite Troughton story might be clouded by the fact it was the first ever classic Doctor Who story I ever watched. However, even outside of that, I still think it's a brilliant Doctor Who story, and is one of the best examples that the show can be serious while also being a show for kids. This story was Doctor Who's first attempt to try to be more similar to James Bond, which was the world's most popular film franchise at the time. This is something that the next era of Doctor Who would lean heavily into with Jon Pertwee. Least favourite: The Underwater Menace. The Doctor, Polly, Ben and Jamie arrive in the lost city of Atlantis. Mad scientist Professor Zaphor promises to raise it from the sea, but his true plan is catastrophic. He intends to drain the ocean, destroying the Earth. As rebellion brews, the Doctor races to stop Zaphor before Atlantis is doomed forever. I feel like this is a little unfair, mostly because there are large chunks of the story where the visual element is missing. I haven't seen the animated version, so I don't feel like I can give it a fair shake of the lamb's tail. However, I still don't like the story. To me, it still features some of the worst elements of the previous era. To me, the story feels like it just drags on and could easily be shortened. Also, I find the villain of the story far too melodramatic, and for me, it just takes out so much of the tension of the story. Overall, I feel like my biggest issue with the story is it feels like a huge missed opportunity, Doctor Who's first attempt at exploring the legend of Atlantis, and I just feel like it falls short. Troughton left the role in 1969, apparently to avoid being typecast. However, like his predecessor, Troughton would return to the show multiple times. His first return was in the story The Three Doctors, the show's 10th anniversary special, and his interaction with Pertwee would define every Doctor interaction with their own selves for every multi-Doctor story to come. Troughton's next appearance would be in The Five Doctors, the show's 20th anniversary special. Unfortunately, in my opinion, he wouldn't appear as much as I'd have liked him to, and his interactions are limited, and I don't think he gets as much screen time as he deserved. He would also have his final appearance in the story The Two Doctors in 1985, where he would appear with Colin Baker's Sixth Doctor. Sadly, it would be his final appearance on the show before his death in 1987. Apparently there were plans for Patrick Troughton to return as the Seventh Doctor just before his death in 87. This would have made Troughton the first Doctor to come back as a new incarnation, beating David Tennant to the punch by 30 years. Overall, I really love this era of the show, and to me, I think it should be considered as one of Doctor Who's many golden ages. The stories are great, and I feel like Troughton is perfect as the Doctor. In fact, I think this would be considered Doctor Who's head golden age if most of it wasn't missing and it was in colour. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe if you enjoyed and want to see more content in future.